Welcome to the Jag Bros podcast. We are three brothers who all grew up in Jacksonville, are diehard Jacksonville Jaguars fans. I'm Jack, along with my two brothers, JT and Joey, and this is an exciting time of the year. The Hall of Fame game is tonight. The Olympics are going on right now, but before we talk about some Jacksonville Jaguars football, what are you guys watching in the sports world? What has you guys fired up right now?
Yeah, this has been a fun summer because we've had a number of different sporting events to help get us through these doldrums where there's no football on. We've had the Olympics for soccer fans such as myself. We've had the Copa America and the Euros. We've had golf tournaments all summer. It's been great. I feel like I haven't had too much of a lull like some summers have been.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of soccer. I thought England was finally going to win the Euros, but Spain took it. They've been playing really well. Then obviously, yeah, the Summer Olympics, watching the U.S. women's win gold and all around, and some of the swimmers, and ready for the track and field to start up. Really exciting summer.
Yeah, well, y'all know I love swimming. I swam competitively for a long time and swam for a little bit in Jacksonville with two Jacksonville natives, Caleb Dressel and Ryan Murphy. I know Ryan Murphy is a big Jaguars fan, and so it was cool to see him win another Olympic medal. He's got one more race, but football is here because tonight we've got the Hall of Fame game. And obviously, we're right in the middle of the Jaguars training camp, too, which has just been fun to have football back at some level. We're a little over a week away from the preseason, where Jaguars will take on Kansas City and Jacksonville, and then about a month away from week one in Miami. And before we talk about training camp, before we talk about and break down the offense and defense, we're going to talk about our favorite newcomer to the Jaguars, whether that's a free agent or a rookie. But what just overall, as you think about football specifically, what has you excited right here today on August 1st?
Joey, hit us with some hype train, baby.
I don't have a hype train.
What?
No,
You're the
no
hype
love.
man. You're the one the Jaguars are going to win by 50 every game. Come on, hype us up a little bit here.
Well, I haven't really seen that much. I've only heard a little bit. I'm waiting to watch everyone play. I heard Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing very well during the training camp the first week, but then I also heard that he was also a little sick, so maybe that had something to do with it. But ever since they've thrown the pads on, we're playing really, really well. He had a really great day the other day where he only had one incomplete pass, and that was just a drop. So things are looking up. I'm just really, really excited to watch us play on TV.
Joey, get us hyped up for a little bit of Gabe Davis. How good is this guy? Is he Randy Moss 2.0?
I am very, very excited about Gabe Davis. A lot of news has been out so far with him being, looks like number 2 wide receiver. Christian Kirk, obviously, still Trevor's number 1, but Gabe Davis is right behind him, getting a ton of looks at this training camp. A lot of work in the red zone, I heard. They are right now at the very beginning of training camp, just starting off at the red zone. That's how much emphasis we are working on our red zone offense. Is we're not just going to do it at the end of practice. We're going to start with it, have it in the middle and at the end. They're putting a lot of emphasis. I think Gabe Davis already has shown us that he is a red zone monster. I'm ready to see it as a Jaguar now.
For me, what I'm most interested in seeing and excited about this year is actually the defensive side of the ball. We get Eric Davenport. We get some of the other big signings that we did in free agency. We actually made moves on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, there's a new defensive coordinator. Yes, there's a lot of big names now on the offensive side with some younger guys that we were able to get both in the draft and in free agency. Gabe Davis, Ryan Thomas, some of these other guys that I know most fans are going to be excited about. But to me, I think it's going to be more of the same, unfortunately, offensively. But you're plugging and playing with a couple of different players. So it'll be interesting to see how they play. But I think it's going to look vastly different on defense. And different could be good or different could be bad. And so that to me is what I'm most excited to see what we look like on that side of the ball.
I have to disagree on the offense looking the same. I think Mitch Morse is about to bring a lot more stability to this offensive line, being at the center, being at the helm, being a veteran. And then Our guards don't have to cover for our center so much. Anton Harrison's going to be coming into his second year, played really well his rookie year. And then Trevor's working on a lot of new stuff. He's actually said that he's working on throwing it not just to wide receiver 1, 2, 3, but 4, 5, and 6, and being able to move the ball around. It seems like they're changing their emphasis on the red zone. And I think they're actually trying to switch up what they were doing last year a lot.
You already took my number one takeaway for just the first week or so of training camp for the Jaguars. And to me, it's going to be that there is major pressure on the offense this year. We already saw the overreactions big time over day 1, day 2, day 3 of practice, where Trevor's throwing several interceptions. CJ Beathard, Mac Jones are throwing picks. But there is rightfully so going to be a ton of pressure on this offense. Trevor Lawrence signs that $275 million deal. We spent a lot of draft capital recently on the offensive side of the ball last season, going first round with Anton Harrison, second round Britton Strange, third round Tank Bigsby, and then the first round of this draft, we go Brian Thomas Jr., and then y'all have already mentioned a lot of the free agent moves. Joey said Mitch Morris, JT, Gabe Davis, and then Devin Duvernay, who's probably going to be more special teams, but also offensive weapon. And so it's a lot of pressure on the offense, going to be a ton of pressure, a lot of interesting things to watch on who's going to be calling the plays, whether that's Press Taylor or Doug Peterson. But that's my big week 1 takeaway of training camp is there's a bunch of pressure on this offense.
Jack, are there rumors right now that Doug Peterson's going to take more responsibility in play calling?
Yes, 100%. It's already been asked and addressed in the interviews, and Doug Peterson has said that he has not decided one way or the other, but someone asked him directly, hey, does the fact that Shad Khan wants you to call the plays impact your decision? And he simply said yes. So I think the play calling is going to look different this year. What that exactly means, I think we're going to find out in the next several weeks.
And that's going to be a good thing because we all in Jacksonville praised Doug Peterson's creativity when he first started calling plays for us coming over after the Urban Meyer debacle. And then obviously he's let more and more of the play calling go over to Press Taylor. And just you could see constantly, and I've harped on this multiple times now, that Trevor and Press were often not on the same page. You would see him doing that Superman kind of pull off the shirt type of thing where it's actually scrubbing the offensive play call that was called. And so Trevor is oftentimes calling his own number on a QB sneak or oftentimes doing some sort of other play that was not called. And it felt like we were seeing that 4, 5, 6 times a game, especially down the stretch. Part of that was Trevor pushing too hard because he's such a competitor, but it certainly is true that they were not on the same page. And so I love hearing the fact that Doug could be calling more plays. And that could mean that we could start seeing more of the higher level of the ceiling that the offense has.
Well, speaking of the offense, and Joey, you mentioned this, and I really want to drill down on this because clearly this was a big focus day 1 for the Jaguars, is they started in the red zone. The Jaguars were not good in 2023 in the red zone. They had a lot of times where they went for it on 4th down and got no points. Joey, I'm thinking about that game you and I were in Houston. Fortunately, the Jaguars were able to pull away that victory 24-21, but we left so many points on the board. And so thinking about the Jaguars red zone offense, if you could wave a magic wand and say, this one thing is going to be better, what one thing would you say the Jaguars offense needs to be better? And if I could just fix it, this would be the thing to fix for the Jags red zone.
It would have to be the offensive line, not having the defensive line start 2 yards into Trevor's face every play. The offensive line has to bow up in the red zone. You have to be like a stone wall, and you got to give Trevor a little bit of extra time because the field shrinks so much that the sidelines become almost like an extra defender. You learn that playing defense. I played cornerback safety. They always talk about the extra defender, and then you have the whole field shrinking. So you need just a few more seconds as a quarterback, and our offensive line wasn't giving that to Trevor. But this year it needs to happen where Trevor can give one more second, be able to put that ball in the right spot or make the right decision and not so rushed.
We talked about it all last year. if you look at some of the specific games, the Colts, we had four drives that ended inside their territory with nothing. Chiefs 4, Texans 5, Steelers 5, San Francisco 3, Saints 3. So many times were we ending up on their side of the field and coming away with nothing. Part of that was offensive line. Joey, I think you're spot on. Part of that is that we felt like we kept doing fades to shorter receivers and bringing in that sideline, which made no sense when it seemed like Calvin Ridley had the quick hips to be able to get a quick slant, but we just never refused to do that inside the 10. And so, yeah, I think it's those factors, but then it's the turnovers. Like how many of those times do we see Trevor try to force a ball in and it was picked off in the red zone, or a sack fumble in the red zone, or even in the green zone, right inside the 40 yards or so to go from the 20 to 40. So if we just cut down on the Trevor turnovers, that would also have been a couple more wins for the Jaguars last year.
I think there's also a sneaky new part of this offense that will be better than it was last year, and that's the kicker. I've heard a lot of great things about Cam Little so far. He's putting 56-yard field goals at the top of the goalpost and having a kicker that actually makes it. I mean, we go to the playoffs if Brandon McManus makes that field goal against the Bengals. So being able to have a kicker who seems to be more accurate and just more effortless with it is what I heard is going to be really great for us.
Talk about impressive. Cam Little won that kicking competition in, I believe, 4 days. And so clearly the Jaguars saw what they wanted to see from Cam Little. They've waived Riley Patterson this week for a second time. And yeah, Joey, he's been drilling several field goals well over 60 yards. And so he is, a lot of people don't get excited about drafting a kicker, but when you look at the Jaguars, have had the most kicker turnover in the entire NFL since 2021. The potential of having a 20-year-old kicker like Cam Little be the answer, the solution for the next 10 to 15 years could be very, very nice.
I mean, I was so negative all offseason. For the fans that listen to some of the other podcasts this season, I was negative on Cam Little. I've obviously been negative on Brian Johnson.
You gave him an F, JT.
I know. So look, you got to do it in a game. And there are plenty of guys that could kick. I mean, Gators used to have a guy named Eddie Pinheiro who played for the Bears for a little bit. He could kick it 70 yards in practice. It was amazing. But he was a very average to below average NFL kicker. He had a cup of coffee there for a while for the Bears. Let's see what he can do. But yeah, I might be eating crow on that one, as well as maybe some of my other more negative takes in the offseason. I mean, I'm just happy that football's back. I'm happy to get excited again. I'm happy to start feeling optimistic again and stop just thinking of everything as half empty.
Joey, how many days until we get a call on the pod from JT saying that the Jaguars are going to the Super Bowl?
I'd say probably about the second week of the preseason when the starters actually get to play and JT sees how good we look in preseason. I think we're going to hear something about a Super Bowl or at least making it to the championship.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's bring it to. We got 3 weeks now. From 3 weeks from now, I will have continued to climb this elevator of hype that the Jaguars media is pumping out these days.
One of the hype trains I've been on right now, JT mentioned it a little bit, is the Ryan Nielsen hype train. I heard and am hearing that he is absolutely incredible in training camp. He's getting all the players set up. The defense is playing outrageously well, and he's moved Devin Lloyd into be a second middle linebacker, changing it up a lot, and I'm just really excited to see what he's got going on and what he's going to cook up this year.
Yeah, for me, the hype for the defense is significantly higher than the offense. I still have a lot of concerns, question marks. Look, it's still very early on the offense, but the defense, I'm riding the hype train. And I think Ryan Nielsen is bringing an energy and intensity. Of course, he's bringing a lot more focus on man coverage, and the potential of the secondary could be really, really scary. Look, a lot of these guys are either in their second year or first year or have had some injuries. But when you talk about just talent and talk about young guys, you have Antonio Johnson, who's only 22. Doug Peterson's talked about him being the potential starter at safety. You have Tyson Campbell, 24, Andre Sisco, 24, and then 2 rookies in Jerry and Jones and DeAndre Prince, who Jarian Jones has been my favorite of the Jaguars rookie class. He's kind of like how I feel you are about Joey, about Gabe Davis. I'm all on the Jarian Jones hype train as well. But the potential of this secondary is really scary. It could be very, very good for a long time for the Jags.
News for you, Jack, on the Jarian Jones front. Apparently, Darby is killing it in training camp, so he's definitely going to be the starter, and Jarian Jones may not get to start or may have to move into the slot corner. We know Darby has an injury history, so it may not be too long until Jarian Jones gets his shot. But as Darby's playing right now, I heard that he's definitely not going to be starting first week.
Which is fine. I mean, very rarely do you see a mid-round guy for draft pick come in rookie year and start on really anywhere on the field. And so I think that's fine that he's potentially losing out to a veteran at this point. He's got to learn different techniques. He's got to learn the playbook. He's got to learn just the speed that the NFL game brings on the defensive side. But you got young players with very high ceilings. That's been Balky's MO the entire time. And in some senses, I don't think we've seen the ceiling yet, right? Trayvon Walker should be taking that next step, right? Could he have a year similar to what Josh Allen had last year? How fun would that be if you had two guys that are truly disruptive in the pass rush and pair that with Davenport and some of the other, I think Roy Robertson Harris was making some noise, which is rare in training camp. So that would be fun to see. You also, we paid Campbell a lot of money that he should be our ace in the hole. And we saw glimpses of that in 2022, but did not see that in 2021 or 2023. And we'll certainly talk more about that in a second, but you're expecting him to take that next level. Cisco is still somebody who has not been paid yet. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see a very high effort, high ceiling output from him this year. So it's going to be fun to watch and see that some of the differences. There's potential where this could be a very, very good unit.
With all this potential that we're talking about with the defense, what is one thing that you're actually afraid of on this defense right now?
Campbell.
That's JT's Jack.
Mine is easy and quick as well, but it's on the D line. It is Armstead. So for those who may have missed it, he is on the preseason PUP injury list. He can still be ready to go by week 1, but the last 2 years, he has only played 9 games in 12 games in the last 2 seasons. I think he is going to be one of the most important part of the defense because behind him, Devon Hamilton, yes, has looked good, but he had a horrible year in 2023. And I don't love a lot of these LSU rookie defensive tackles in Mason Smith or Jordan Jefferson or putting a lot of pressure on 2 rookie guys. So I think Armstead is where I'm the most nervous because we don't want to see a repeat of week 18 where we just got gashed up the middle by Derrick Henry. So,
hey, yeah, I think I misspoke earlier. I called him Davenport and not Armstead. But yeah, he's somebody that has some injury concern, but we also know can play at a very, very high level. So that is somebody I want to see. What about you, Joey?
Yeah, that's definitely a bit of concern. I am a little higher maybe on Hamilton. I know that he had a really rough last year, but I don't think he should have been playing at all last year from the sounds of his injury. So he says he's 100% back, so I believe him. So maybe it's not that bad if Armstead misses a game or two, but I have a big question on our edge. Yes, we have Josh Allen or Hines Allen, who is just an absolute all-star. I think maybe one of our actually best players above Trevor. And then Trayvon Walker is making those steps up. They could be one of the best duo edge guys in the league. But who do we have behind him? I was kind of hopeful when we signed Gibson that he was going to be this guy that gets 6 sacks. But from what I hear, we're already looking at signing 2 new edge guys and trying to find something in the back end, but I don't know if that's the right idea. I think we need to go actually at the top of the edge market and not just fill up the back end trying to find a league minimum guy. This is a really bad spot if anyone gets injured on the edge, so I think we need to fix that part.
That's a great point, Joey. And this is why fans get so frustrated with Balky because people have talked about the edge 3 being a missing piece for the Jaguars for now well over a year, and it still feels very much unaddressed because at this point, you really don't have any other option. Nobody's going to trade one of their good edge rushers at this point. And the 49ers have proved you can never have too many good edge rushers. And I love Josh Hines-Allen. Shout out to him for getting ranked number 35 in the NFL Top 100, ranked as number 6 edge rusher in Madden. Those are really cool. He obviously had a breakout, incredible record-breaking season. Trayvon Walker, I love that, JT. I really hope that he can keep performing and keep stepping up because he's a number 1 overall pick. But it really does feel like there is no one for an edge 3 position at a position where even Josh Hines-Allen, he's not going to play more than 70 to 75% of the snaps because of the intensity of that position.
This is what happens when you continually draft guys with high upsides that have a lot of room to improve versus guys who have proven themselves in college. We broke down some of the defensive tackle picks. Obviously, we beat the Aiden Hutchinson horse to death over the last couple of years in that pick, but there's a lot of question marks around Baalke's roster configuration. There's also been question marks around Baalke's negotiating skills. Joey, you were the one that called this 2 years ago saying, you know what? I don't think Baalke's actually a very good negotiator. And I think it's a perfect segue to start talking about one of the other big news items that happened in Jacksonville about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now. And that is the agreement that Tyson Campbell just made, making him the 6th highest paid cornerback when Pro Football Focus and most other ratings agencies have him somewhere around the 19th to 29th best cornerback in the league. What are your thoughts on what we did there?
I think this was an absolute horrible extension. I mean, other people are super excited about it. I've not been sold on Campbell. He had one good season, and a lot of these corners nowadays get one good season and disappear. So we're going to pay this guy $20 or so million, and we're not sure if he'll ever come back. I mean, all he did was hurt his hamstring, and apparently he couldn't ever come back for the entire season. Like, I understand Trevor got hurt 5 times, 5 different injuries, and still played not his absolute best, but played well. Campbell had one injury that lasted the entire season and couldn't even get back to playing somewhat good. I don't trust it at all. I think it's so overpaid. It was so too quickly. If anything, I would have given the money to Cisco, who has been a lot more stable and has a lot higher floor, I think, than Campbell. I think Campbell's floor is not starting at all if he plays bad. So I really hate this deal.
Yeah. And Joey, I'll give you props because last episode, Jack and I teased you saying, you know what? I can't wait for Joey to listen to some of the Jag hype. And then once we sign Campbell and then do a complete 180, you said before, I don't want us to sign him. And we did. And that's where we're at. And look, I agree. Like if you look at his history, it's hamstring and quadricep injuries. Now those are lagging. They're not the same as like a broken bone or some of the other injuries that you can play through pain. And those soft tissue injuries sometimes are injuries that don't just go away year over year too. So like it's something we want to keep our eye on now that happens. If you lose a step, especially if you're playing man to man, playerprofiler.com that has some advanced analytics on Tyson Campbell's ability for man coverage and what that looked like. Even in 2022, which all Jaguar fans loved, Tyson Campbell's amazing and he did a great job. And don't get me wrong, he did a great job if you're looking at the game breakouts. I don't think he had a single receiver against him go for more than 52 yards, it looks like. Michael Pittman in in week 6 that year. But his man coverage success rate was actually only 58%, and it put him as the number 40th cornerback in the NFL. And so there's some question marks there, even with his best season, how he played. And so I guess the thought is, hey, let's get ahead of him. He might have a breakout just like Josh Allen. But Josh Allen gave us flashes and glimpses at the time, and I guess Tyson Campbell has too. But man, this felt like more of a stretch to pay him at this point.
Yeah, but I also felt like with Josh Allen, even though he wasn't getting the sacks and all that, he was always in the backfield getting the pressure. It was just about timing when he'd finally get the quarterback down. Like I could see him play. He passed the eye test for me. I always saw Josh Allen in the backfield, not every time getting the quarterback, but he was disruptive. Like the year he only had 7 sacks, I still saw him in the backfield a ton. I think he had like double digits. He affected the play, but didn't get the quarterback down. Campbell did not pass the eye test. I watched him get burnt multiple times. It wasn't like he was in the right position and the guy just had a really great catch. No, he was running the wrong zone. He was 3 steps behind the person. It wasn't that he was doing things right and things were just still going the wrong way. He was playing badly. He was not passing the eye test, and we're going to go give this guy $20 million. I'm just not really happy.
And one more point, Jack. I know you're trying to get in here too, but look, if your concern is like, hey, he could be Josh Allen, he might have a all Pro Bowl type season, and then we're going to have to pay him way more money the following year, just like we had to do with Josh Allen. Okay, that's a good idea in theory, but the reality is you didn't save any money. You already paid him as if he already did that. He's making 19.1 million a year. The highest paid guy right now is 21 million at Jair Alexander. Jalen Ramsey, Marlon Humphreys, Denzel Ward, all those other guys are at 20 million. So you essentially saved $1 million, quote unquote, if he actually has that Pro Bowl type of year. So you're saving 5%, maybe. Like it's one thing if you locked him in at, I don't know, 15 million a year and that, but like, I mean, again, my same argument with Trevor. How much of this do we actually negotiate off of what they originally were offering? Because I can't see Tyson Campbell's agent coming into him and saying, hey, we deserve to be paid top 3 cornerback money, and then we whittled it down 5%. It's laughable. It's almost as if they get a blank check and Balky's just like, fine, we'll do it.
I will say a couple things. One, real quick, because this was other big Jaguars news. Josh Allen, his name is now Josh Hines Allen. So when you see number 41 on the field, it will be Hines Allen, Hines dash Allen. And of course, there is a lot of similarities to that of the thought is, okay, maybe Tyson Campbell breaks out this year. I define this move in the same way as pretty much this entire offseason. This is very high risk, high reward. And to y'all's point, I do think this is probably the riskiest of all of Balky's moves this offseason. But I will say, so what is the high reward? The high reward is that the cornerback market is totally going to be reworked next year because you'll have Sauce Gardner, who most people say is the top corner in the game, who will probably get a big time deal. You'll get Patrick Surtain from the Broncos as well. So I think that market is going to shift easily to the mid to, if not upper 20 millions, because we've seen the wide receiver market go bonkers this year of going from mid 20s to mid 30 million. I don't know if corners will hit 30 million next offseason, but that's the thought of why 19 million. But at the same time, I do agree with both y'all because this is the highest cornerback deal for a cornerback who's never made the Pro Bowl. And I just don't love the timing of it. We did not have to make this deal. And I don't know why we're afraid to make deals in the middle of the season because 90+% of the negotiation is with the agent anyways. And so this wasn't a deal that had to be rushed, that had to be made. It happened right before training camp. Tyson Campbell has been very good in 2022. A lot of the rankings put him top 5, top 10 for that year. He's the 5th graded, PFF graded corner in that year. He's still very young. He still has high potential, but you are betting a lot of money that he is going to hit this year. And it's a high risk. There's no way to get around it. I know a lot of Jaguars fans are excited. We love the potential. We love the hype. Is he going to be better in Ryan Nielsen's defense or not? The injury concerns are the big one to me. Because if you look at last year, weeks 1 through 6, on wide receiver number 1, he gave up a 62% completion percentage, which is good, not great. But weeks 10 through 18, when he came back from that injury, he gave up a 77.4% completion rating. That means 4 out of 5 passes, if it was thrown Campbell's way, was going to be a catch. So he's got to find a way to not only come back to 2022 form, but even better. And it's high risk, high reward. To me, there's no other way to describe it.
See, I think it's high risk, medium reward at best in some of these cases. I don't know. Everything he does is not how I would do it. And look, I'm not an NFL GM. I don't know any better. I'm just a fan that's excited about our team. But I do have some level of business experience, and I do have something. It's just like, what are we doing? It doesn't feel like we're making the right bets and the right risks at the right time. You want to know who is? Houston. Houston feels like an extremely well-run organization, making the right bets, making the right decisions at the right time to build a pretty sustainable, successful future. Like their franchise is looking very, very good. If I were them, just strictly from a business perspective.
Well, think about how much money the Jaguars have dished out this offseason. $275 million to Trevor Lawrence, $76.5 million to Tyson Campbell. And then what's the exact number for Joshua Hines-Allen?
5 years, 141.
Yeah, so almost $500 million paid over 4 or 5 years to 3 players that, other than Joshua Hines-Allen, there's still a lot of question marks about. And so if you're a Jaguars fan, if you're Shad Khan, you're like, to Doug Peterson, to Balky, this team better be really good this year. And I'm still not convinced. I don't know that we're, maybe slightly better than last year, but I don't see this as a team right now that is going to go much above 10 wins. I think 10 wins is a very good scenario for the Jaguars. I don't see this as a Super Bowl contender in the slightest.
We might have a Super Bowl team if everything goes right, I believe. It's not a Super Bowl team like the Chiefs or someone else where things can go wrong and they're still going to make it there. I think if that happens this year, everything has to go right. No injuries. Everyone that you paid plays to their absolute best. Ryan Nielsen is a defensive, genius. Trevor Lawrence takes that huge extra step. Brian Thomas Jr. becomes a superstar kind of in his first year. All those things have to happen for us to even have a chance. And I don't know if we've made all the right moves. The whole Campbell thing, paying him, everyone brings back it to year 2022, but so many corners have one good year and disappear. AJ Boy with Jalen Ramsey, they had that one awesome year. And then AJ Boy disappeared, was never that good again. With cornerbacks at the Pro Bowl is the most turned over spot for Pro Bowlers. Like that means a whole new person is at the Pro Bowl and then a new person next year. It's just such a volatile season where you could have one really great year and then just disappear. So paying him on what might be is just, I think, dumb.
Let's do this. Speaking of Pro Bowl and Tyson Campbell being the highest paid non-Pro Bowl, let's drop another Jag Bros bet. So these are 100 or 200 points. We're just going to see who has the best calls from the Jag Bros. So does Tyson Campbell make the Pro Bowl this season? Yes or no? And are you betting 100 or 200 points just for fun here?
I'll say no, 100. You just have too many other good AFC corners, and he doesn't have the clout, and Jacksonville typically gets passed over. I don't know, maybe make that 200. I've talked myself into it.
I was going to say no, definite 200. I don't think he's going to have a terrible season. I think he'll do fine, and people will scream that he should go to the Pro Bowl, but there's just no way he's going to the Pro Bowl.
I'm going to go the flip. I don't know if I 100% buy it or not, so I'm definitely not going 200 points, but I'm going to say yes for 100 points just because I love the secondary, but when it comes to corner position, I think a lot is going to depend on Tyson Campbell. So I wouldn't be shocked if you saw kind of, obviously he's not going to break the pick six record, but somewhat similar to the Cowboys bland corner who had a lot of interceptions and also got burnt on a lot of plays. So maybe some stats look good for Campbell. He's probably going to want to prove that he got paid a lot. So I'm going to say yes for 100 points.
My concern there too, Jack, is we're playing man-to-man. You typically don't see more. You typically will see more interceptions in a more of a zone scheme. So I feel good about Joey and I's side of the bet there for sure.
Yeah, he would have to go and be lockdown island where whoever he goes up against gets like no yards to make it to the Pro Bowl. I don't think
100%.
he's getting it on the interceptions.
Yeah, and we play against some good wide receivers in our
First week against the Dolphins. He's gonna get it right away. Can he stop Hill or Waddle? I don't think he can keep up with either one of them.
Well, hey, this has been a fun conversation. Looking forward to it. We'll resume our weekly schedule now. We'll break down the preseason matchup next week. We'll give you some keys to the game, keys to things that we want to watch. Doesn't really matter who wins the games, but it'll be fun to get to see some of these guys in Jaguars uniforms for the first time, or longtime Jags that are ideally taking the next step. And so we'll continue to do that. We'll also be breaking down some of our predictions, maybe some over-unders on Trevor Lawrence touchdowns or Gabe Davis yards, which will be fun to be able to track as well. But hey, this is year 2 for the Jaguars, the Jag Bros. We got some of the kinks out of our system year 1, and hopefully continue to build on the fantastic fan base that we have. We love engaging with you guys on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, and some of the other platforms that we do. If you like our content, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps the algorithms as we continue to try to perfect our skill just as the Jaguars are trying to perfect their skills.
And Jack, I think there was someone you wanted to give a personal shout out to who DM'd us.
That's right. Yeah. Shout out to Tristan on X or Twitter. He just shared a DM, said loves the pod, says huge fan with a bunch of exclamation points. So again, just like JT said, we love to hear from you all. Drop those 5-star ratings. We'll always give you a personal shout out if you drop a review on Apple Podcasts, or if you just want to connect with us on Twitter or YouTube and drop us a comment. We'll try to give you a shout out on the pod as well.
Awesome. Well, guys, let's lead it off for our first podcast as we're entering into year 2 now. Do